We all use nature as a way to heal or meditate, or just to seek some sort of comfort in the small but chaotic little worlds that we each live in. But some people take the term "the world is your oyster" literally and choose to drown themselves in the sounds and beautiful landscapes of the world as their own home, living as nomads. However, others would argue that participating in a nomadic life can mean leaving their lives behind and starting new. People fail to understand that there is a sense of euphoria and freedom that is not attainable when living in a permanent home. What I love about the film Nomadland, directed by Chloe Zhao, is that she uses elements of realism through the natural and unnatural to convey the protagonist, Fern's, intense feelings of refusing to reconnect with the rest of the world while embracing her loneliness. Through lighting, Zhao's use of reconnecting realism to nature versus the home environment emphasizes Fern's introvertedness and her subdued sense of isolation. Chloe Zhao emphasizes a sense of isolation through light, specifically in the last third of Nomadland in Dave's house. For instance, when Fern looks at the home, the environment is lit in a way that does not seem very appealing to her. As she makes her way to Dave's house, she catches glimpses of sunlight trickling in from the clouds above her and the bright forest green of the trees she walks through. This all changes the moment Fern drives into the home, as the sky could not be more gray with a hint of mist in the air. The fog in the air could be a metaphor for Fern going back into the unknown of what it is like to live in a permanent home. This is already making the house seem a bit intimidating for her. Although she had just visited her own family in the film, the fact that she has to interact with new people in an environment she is already not comfortable in is shown in the dullness of the house outside. By the same token, as Fern is introduced to everyone, the atmosphere inside the house is the same way. There are a few artificial lights on in the home, most of which are further away from her than the rest of the residents, and the light from outside is more visible in the scene. The further the warm and yellow lights of the home are from Fern, the further away she may feel from the sense of community and clique that a permanent home may not provide in a nomadic life. She would instead be surrounded by natural light of the house rather than experiencing the unnatural lighting of the house. What she may find comfortable in the dull-colored natural world is something the rest of Dave's family may find somber and lonely. Furthermore, it is most apparent that Fern's sense of belonging in a mobile home is shown the most at the dinner table that evening. The artificial lighting of the dining room is centered in the middle of the table on top of everyone, where it is inescapable. The light is bound to touch everything it sees to create some sort of comfort in the home for the Thanksgiving dinner. However, once we get to Fern, there is only a hint of warm artificial lighting bouncing on the left side of her face, where she rejects the sense of comfort and community from the rest of the residents by facing away from them. This is most apparent once the camera shows a wide shot of Dave and Fern, as they are the only two eating without artificial light on them. Fern may find some familiarity and friendliness in Dave, as he was a former nomad, but is still struggling to find her place in the environment as the light blocks her from the rest of the family. As Ian Christie describes Fern's situation, she describes the home where it may be where we start from as infants, meaning the place where the primary mother-baby relationship is formed, but that finding another sense of home depends for its existence on living experiences, in which Fern has been able to attain versus the rest of the family. The lack of warm lighting signifies Fern's lack of living experiences in a permanent home, which is very little, versus living experiences as a nomad. The most significant example of Fern's isolation and confinement in Dave's permanent home is seen after dinner. After Fern's conversation with Emily, Dave and another family member are sitting by the piano, now surrounded by the yellow warmness of the artificial light. As they are playing a melody, the camera cuts to Fern sitting on the steps in a state of silence and thought. The way that Fern makes her way down the stairs and crouches down to see the two playing piano lying down is almost animal-like, as she is viewing the two from behind the bars of the stairs. The warm lighting hitting her from behind the bars of the railing emphasizes how confined Fern truly feels in a permanent home environment compared to the openness and vastness of living a nomadic life. Fern has now concluded that this life of comfortability is not of her own and that she is more comfortable in her solitude. At this point in Fern's life, she finds peace and freedom venturing into the world in her motorhome rather than being confined in a four-walled environment more soothing. Fern finds peace that her family, Dave, and other family members he is with understand that they are also not familiar with the exhilarating feeling of what it is like to not be attached to something that feels irreparable to her, but to also move on with her life while acknowledging the life she previously had. How Chloe Zhao delivers Fern's emotions towards her relationship with having an indefinite home is nothing short of moving.